this episode, you'll learn why high achieving men have hundreds of contacts but no real brothers, and how to build the tribe that keeps you human. Welcome to Energy Alignment for Entrepreneurs, the podcast helping entrepreneurs be free from anxiety, stress, and tension through balancing emotions and consciousness expansion. 3 things you'll discover today. Number 1, why networking events leave you emptier than you arrived. Number 2, how to recognize real brotherhood versus transactional connection. Number 3, the test. Would you call this man at 3 a.m.? And would he actually answer? So let's look at that connection between high achievement and having a lot of acquaintances, but no real depth in connection. And we'll use the first point to sort of illustrate the bigger picture message here, which is you have these networking events and you leave emptier than you arrived. What does that mean? Really, in life, what we have is we need to build and interact on a surface level to get things done. But there is a depth that can be instilled within all interaction. So the thing with practical networking events or very transactional expectations is it almost takes the joy out of the game if you're not fully evolved. And in other words, that means that for a networking event to be of real value, it means that the people showing up need to be in alignment so that they bring that attitude, that flair, that fire, that joy, that aliveness to the event. So this isn't saying that networking events are bad. This isn't saying that achievement is bad, but we need to understand the distinction and the nuance between connection and surface level transactional living. The funny thing about living a connected life is that you get the resources, you get the abundance, the wealth, the deepest connections, and you have this material prosperity that you could also have living a shallow life being cut off. What I'm really saying here is that when you build for something bigger than yourself, you will meet people on your journey that confirm that you are doing the right thing. There will be synchronicities, non-coincidental moments that your mind may shuffle under the rug. But we mustn't forget what really matters here, because we have this pressure, this illusion, this programming that the material is what is primary in life, that matter is only the physical, the felt, the tangible. But matter isn't solely of that physical nature. Matter is in the unseen as well. And when you stop living on this shallow surface land, then you realize, man, there is a holistic way of getting both what you want and what you need. And that involves this realization of what leaves you feeling empty. For example, you're going to events with a expectation, with a motive, with a forceful, ambitious sort of state. Well, it's kind of like saying, hey, just let me pick your brain. To some people, they may have heard that, not think of it much, and then repeat it mindlessly. But to me, I don't want to talk to you if you're here to pick my brain. Like, I'm here to have a connection, a conversation. I'm just here to be. And if you have a motive in relationship to interacting with me, if like the only reason someone may interact with me is so they can get smarter or something, that's just, it's like you're missing the point. The point of life isn't to force your juice. It's to accept the flavor, the fuel that you are given, and to learn to work with what you have. So I know that's a bit of a stretch from the point. Let's hop into point number two and wrap this thing nicely. How to recognize real brotherhood versus transactional connection. So, on the forefront, there, like I said before, is a necessity for a practical furthering of the material world. But simultaneously, if you learn to follow your heart, you'll let your talents, your gifts guide you in terms of creating resources in a practical manner and also creating that real brotherhood. Because, see, you could be, and very often you're going to need to be in these stepping stone phases where you're not fully ready for what you're actually meant to do. So, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, puts you through these trials and tests to strengthen you, to ripen you, to let, if we talk about the parables of the seed and the harvesting, that is that essence where you go through these material sort of trials for your inward expansion and learning. It's not the other way around. It's not like your inner world changes once you get material things. You need to sort of get clear on what actually matters and why did you actually come here and what gets you feeling alive. For example, for me, doing this is one of my biggest priorities. Taking the time each week to create these videos, whether it's a video or an MP, to express in this form, this is why I'm here. And I can feel it, and it is reconfirmed to me every time that I do this. Every single time. It's just irrevocable. When you feel the depth of vitality and you see the relationship between, man, this thing, this action, this commitment, and then the fuel that it gives you, the charge, the drive, the aliveness. So you make your life simple and you see, man, having a real brotherhood is for me. I'm not for the transactional, shallow talk, just the surface level where it's if someone can. I was kind of contemplating this. If someone can predict effortlessly your emotional reactions, or if people can read you like a book, what that means really is that you are too mechanical, meaning that the spirit isn't um, being allowed to breathe in the moment that the trigger arises. Why does this matter? Well, because for a real brotherhood to form, you have to almost be a leader for yourself. You have to start the brotherhood within your own heart and treat others how you would like to be treated. Do the work to alchemize your lower vibrational triggers and demons, if you will. When you kind of voluntarily step into the abyss with the understanding doing the hard work is not just for you, but for the whole, that gives this message. It creates an emanation and it alters your auric output. So then the real brotherhood has the opportunity to be born. Inherently, this is how Jesus knew that he was going to be betrayed by one of those quote unquote disciples, right? And you see the humility within that sort of consciousness because he still let the man stay with him until he betrayed him. That's like, you see, if you can play life on that level where you are aware of the implications of the tones, the body language, the gestures, the weight of the footsteps, when you can read between those lines because you've paid so much attention to alchemizing your own darkness, then you can feel others' friction and tension. And it's like this double-edged sword where you better be on your toes. If you do the work, you have the sensitivity, but it's not something you possess. Like if you get cocky or lose the humility, then um, If you start to think it's all about you and these are like powers you possess, then you lose it. And point being, again, that the world is a mirror. So when you alchemize your own work, then it is just natural that you're going to meet amazing individuals who are also on their journey. You don't need to believe anything I'm saying. All I say is try being your best. Like, actually, don't try it, do it. Go and practically, I would say the fundamentals are going for walks as often as you possibly can, noticing the relationship between your actions and how you feel. For example, scroll for 30 minutes, then ask how you feel, versus work out for 30 minutes without your phone and without music and see how you feel. Also, I would say it's important to have a project going on practically. Now, this can be overwhelming, so you need to keep it simple. And that is just to start with journaling, just to ask yourself some questions. It depends on where you're at in your journey, right? You may be 5 years into having a company, you may have just started thinking about being an entrepreneur, you may be 20 years and very successful already. This message is for any individual. You don't even need to be entrepreneurial. But the point being is that we need a project, we need that fresh air, we need to move our body, we exercise, whole foods, nutrition, and you're aware of your relationship between the actions and how you feel. So, besides that, be very honest about the things that weaken you. And sometimes I'll give you a tip here because this is really what I've seen. The things that weaken you are usually so tricky that you find a way to think that they don't weaken you. And all that being said, this isn't a rush. This isn't a self development message. The things you struggle with, you're meant to struggle with. It's okay. And you're fine as you are right now. All I'm saying is that you do have the power to change and you have that strength within to notice the weakness and to pay attention to the triggers and just to simplify your life, right? So that you are having that awareness of every moment, every single moment is creating your future. It's not like out there. It is right here, right now, the thoughts you have, the actions you choose, the way that you live your life, and that builds your future. It's all here now. So there has to be that work, that change, that commitment, that willingness to question. Then real connection is just natural. So we look at the test. What do you call this man at 3 a.m.? And what do you actually answer? So it's not about the shallowness of, oh, if I called them and he didn't answer, he's not a part of the brotherhood. That's not the message. The message is in sort of the metaphorical essence of a man at any time, at any hour, being there for you, no matter what you're going through in your life. Again, for this to happen for you, whether it be your wife, your husband, your just friends, for you to have quality individuals around you, you must be that person first. It's not this woofy, I can't even say it anymore. The law of attraction. It's not the law of attraction. It's just fundamentally simple when you take this step back to sit with yourself and comprehend, okay, I am thinking, I can also observe my thinking. What does that mean? I can feel my emotions, but then I can choose to change, and then the state of my energy follows. So, do my emotions run me? Do my thoughts run me? Or when I change my actions and my state changes, then there's a loop of my thoughts change. So, it's your thoughts and your actions, they compound, they create loops, but you have the opportunity, the ability to choose. So, what's going on there? And then you can judge yourself, right? You can think about yourself. You can have all these emotions, but then you can see or you can be aware of the fact that you're thinking. So, the point is there is a intricate dance within consciousness itself that mainstream is really starting to talk about. Now, my mainstream is probably different from the average mainstream. I'm talking about what I see because I've been kind of cultivating my digital ecosystem for a while intentionally. Now I'm seeing more and more like, hey, there are plenty of individuals doing this work. And if we just get to the core, you in your heart need to feel and process the depth of what it is that you are. And in other words, that is to, let's say you're looking and you're seeing movement within nature. That is to stop labeling every little micro movement that you see and to learn how to just watch. The only way you can do that is if your mind gets a little bit quiet because your energy and your being is alive, meaning toes, hands, heart, gut, mind, everything, awareness of breath. And you stop being so reactive. That's the thing. We've been created and programmed to be extraordinarily quick, to move, to always be moving, and to not have this stillness. Now, the funny part about stillness is it allows for your movement to compound in efficiency, and you get way more done than you would otherwise. Practically, that means you could work 4 hours and get more done than someone who works 8 hours. And that is just because you have this bigger picture understanding of, okay, I know what I'm working on. I know why I'm working on it. It's not just for me. And when you zoom out and you look at the bigger picture, that allows for your zoom in to have a much clearer resolution, right? It's like, who cares how zoomed in you are if the resolution is dog shit, right? So, hence clarity. It's literal. You choose your levels of clarity. And I'm just going to say it again because I can't underestimate the importance of just going on walks. You can walk down the street. It doesn't matter how busy it is as long as there's a sidewalk. I live on a dead end, so I'm grateful for that. But just go for walks and exercise and notice the things that really create complacency and stagnation and overthinking in your days. And I know it's very like, man, yeah, but do less of those things. Life and learning and expansion and filling your body with light in your temple, it's all about subtraction, negation, simplification. You already have the purity in you. You already have the power in you, but it takes time to activate it because you're sending these. It's like, you know, that idea of God being someone who's like everywhere and always watching you? The thing is, the Vatican has made it seem like he's judging you and you need to feel shame. But the truth is that you are that power, and whether you like it or not, your life is as it is because of your vibrational state of being. And when you learn to start noticing the coincidences without having any emotional reaction to them, when you start to let go of being so identified with the me, with insert your name, your date of birth, this body. When you take care of your body, but not because you want to live forever. Like you accept you're going to die. You get very real with the raw brutality of the things which crush the ego. In other words, the me. In other words, what we're thinking of 99% of the time. And just a little pillar distinction, the ego really comes from memory, and memory comes from knowledge and experience. So you can feel the energetic stimulus of your thinking in relationship to identity. It's your job, your duty to process all of that emotional reactivity and create the stillness within your being. Now, you aren't alone and you are alone. It's like this beautiful paradox. And I just want you to know that I'm thankful for you taking the time to listen because this is how it all starts. This is how it started for me. This is how it starts for everyone. There's always a stimulus, there's always some form of help. It could be in the form of a video, could be in the form of psychedelics. could be in the form of both. And then it's not just like one phase of your life. This is expanding forever and ever. You know, I haven't done psychedelics in years, and I'm still processing that which um, I was basically taught or shown. So, from me to you, I appreciate you greatly. Let's do a quick recap. The success isolation. The higher you climb, the fewer men can understand your pressure. That's a good point. I didn't really go into that too much, but isolation isn't power. It's poison masquerading as strength. So it's really you learning to understand that not everyone has gotten to where you are and vice versa. So you always learn, you have that humility, you have that compassion, that understanding just how Christ didn't destroy the man who he knew was going to betray him. Now, the brotherhood standard. Real brothers see your darkness and don't flinch. They call you on your bullshit. They don't sugarcoat things. They celebrate your wins without jealousy. And they show up when everything falls apart. Exactly. That's really what it is because it's just a simpler life. It's not so emotional and reactive. It's more about a being to being relationship and connection. So, the masculine circle, you need men who've walked through the fire, not yes men, not competitors, but warriors who understand that your rising lifts everyone. Exactly. Like that. Now, summary. You weren't meant to carry the weight alone. Find your brothers, build your circle, create the tribe that makes you better. Because lonely kings die early, and connected warriors build empires that outlast them. New episodes are out Monday, Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you want to get into warrior like shape, check out the link in description. I wrote it's great. I know it will help many people. So check that out if you want to get into amazing shape 90 days.